Today we're going to take a look at Stretching and Shrinking Problem 3.3, which is about scale factors and similar shapes. Our essential question is going to be, how can you use scale factors to draw similar figures and to find missing side lengths in similar figures? In previous lessons, we've looked at how to find the scale factor between two figures that are similar. In this lesson, we'll be looking at how we can use that scale factor to find missing parts of similar figures. So let's take a look at this problem. It says rectangles ABCD and EFGH are similar, and we want to find the length of AD. Before we can begin any calculations, in order to find side length AD, we first need to determine the corresponding parts of these two rectangles. Remember that we can specifically compare corresponding angles and corresponding sides. In order to figure out which parts correspond, let's take a look at our similarity statement in the problem. In this case, our similarity statement was that A, B, C, D is similar to E, F, G, H. We can easily compare corresponding parts simply by looking at this statement because we know corresponding parts are in the same location. So I know, looking at my similarity statement, since A and E are both the first letters written, they are corresponding angles. B and F are corresponding, C and G are corresponding, and D and H are corresponding. This is the easiest way for me to determine corresponding angles. Now that I've identified corresponding sides, I'm going to redraw these rectangles to identify corresponding angles. So I'm going to redraw EFGH and reorient it or rotate it. I know that A corresponds with E, so I'm going to make the upper left angle E. I know that B corresponds with F, so I'm going to make the upper right angle F. I know that C corresponds with G, so I'm going to make this one G. I know that D corresponds with H, so I'm going to make that one H. Now that my triangles look the same, I can go ahead and relabel the side lengths in EFGH. So I know that EF is 6.75. 6.75. And I know that EH is 9. Now I can identify my corresponding sides. I need to find AD. That's the up and down on the left. So over here, I'm going to match AD with 9. So somehow AD and the 9 centimeters are going to correspond. In order to figure out what AD is, we now need to find the scale factor. When you find scale factors, I suggest that you draw an arrow to help you represent it. So I know that I need to go from 9 to the question mark somehow. That's my goal. The other corresponding side is 6.75 to 3. Notice how my arrows point the same direction, and I'm going from what I know to what I want to know. Now that we've drawn our arrows, we're ready to figure out the scale factor. Remember, scale factor always means multiply. So I need to start with the things I know. I know 6.75 and 3. So I need to think 6.75 times what equals 3. Remember when we did this before, we said we can use a fact family. In order to figure this out, I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to divide it by 6.75 in my calculator. Now when I do that, I see that I'm going to get 0.4 repeated. But that's not going to help me at all. I can't really use 0.4 repeated because if I tried to put in 0.4 repeated, I'm going to get an inaccurate answer. So I'm going to convert 0.4 repeated to a fraction. Remember on your yellow calculators, all you need to do is if 0.4 repeated is in your calculator, just hit the 2 arrow buttons right above enter and that will change it to 4/9. So 4/9 here is going to represent my scale factor. Okay? That's what we really needed to know. The scale factor is 4/9. Okay? So I highly suggest that you come over to your original drawing and right here on your arrow you say this is times 4/9. Okay? Since I have similar figures, because it tells me in the problem, I know that all the sides have to use the same scale factor. So from 9 to the question mark is also going to be multiplying by 4/9. This makes the problem very easy for me. Now, ready to multiply, all we need to do here is take 9 and multiply it by 4/9. If you still have 4/9 in your calculator, you don't really need to do anything except hit the times button and then put 9 in. This one we can kind of see. We could do 9 times 4 is 36 divided by 9, or we could use our cross multiplication or our cross simplification that we know, 9 and 9 cancel out. This is going to leave me with just 4. So therefore I know that side length AD is equal to 4. Right? So let's recap here what we did to find side length AD. I'll kind of highlight things as we go. First, we determine the corresponding sides using our similarity statement and redrawing our triangle. Then we found the scale factor by dividing the side length from the question mark triangle or rectangle by the side length that we knew. So we knew 6.75, we knew 3, we used a fact family and divided. 3 divided by 6.75 tells me that my scale factor is 4/9. Finally, I used my scale factor and multiplied it by the side length I knew corresponded to my question mark, and I got the answer of AD equals 4. Here's another problem for you to try. In this problem, triangles ABCD and DEF are similar. You need to find all the missing side lengths and all the missing angle measures. After you've found your answers, you can submit them on your screen, and the video will continue to show you the final answers. All right, let's check to see how you did here. We know ABC and DEF are similar. We can tell that these are already drawn nicely for us. A corresponds with D, B corresponds with E, and C corresponds with F. Okay? If you don't have these drawn in your notes, it's probably a good idea to do so. Let's start with angle measures because I think they're the easiest to find. Let's start by finding angle B in the top triangle. I know that all the angles in a triangle have to equal 180, so I can take 180 minus 56 minus 94, and I will get that angle B must equal 30 degrees. Now, since these triangles are similar, I know that all the corresponding angles have to be congruent. So I know since triangle B or angle B is 30, its corresponding angle is angle E. So I also know that angle E must be 30 degrees. And since C corresponds with F, that means they must be congruent. So angle F must also equal 94 degrees. Now that I have my angle measures, I can find my missing side lengths. The first thing I needed to do was find my scale factor. In order to do this, I'm going from 6 to 7.5. Notice that all the side lengths I need are in the bottom one, so all of my arrows should go from the top to the bottom. From the top to the bottom. So I needed to do 7.5 divided by 6, which would give me my scale factor of 1.25. Now I'm just going to apply that. I would take 5 times 1.25, and I would take 3 times 1.25. When I do this, I'm going to get that side length DF is 3 times 1.25, which is 3.75 centimeters. And side length EF is 5 times 1.25, which is going to give me 6.25 centimeters. There we have it. We have found, in just a few simple calculations, all of the missing side lengths and angles in those two triangles.